can you invite coincidence? Yes, you can.
Recording in progress, and we can start. Welcome to another episode of Moving Forward, the podcast of the ICCI, where coaching meets real life. And today I have the absolute pleasure to have my own teacher in this room. Well, she's in the USA, I'm here in the Netherlands, but we are sharing a Zoom room. And this is Dr. Tamara Tilleman. Tamara, thank you so much for coming here and joining me today. I must admit that in order to introduce you, I'm going to read. And I'm a slow reader, but it is important for me that we will know everything about you before we are starting to talk and before I'm letting you talk in most of this episode. So Dr. Tamara Tilleman is a multidisciplinary scientist living in Seattle in the USA. She's researching serendipity. She's trained as a surgeon, by the way, here in the Netherlands, in Maastricht. She's a former dean at universities both in the USA and in China, and a professor of innovation. She is the founder of multiversism philosophy. You will talk about it. This is why you are here today. And in a couple of words, she is one of the most curious women I've ever met and a real inspiration. So, Tamara, I invited you to talk about multiversism. You will have to say it for me. And serendipity. This is your topic. This is what I learned in the course with you, and the multiverse course 2 years ago. 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So over to you. Tell us, what is it?
So we will start. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity. It's
My
my
pleasure.
pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure because I know Noah, my daughter, I myself studied in the Netherlands. And when someone is saying Maastricht and not Maastricht, you know that this is a Dutch person. And this is the beginning. I did my fellowship in Maastricht, in AZM, in Academic Ziekenhuis Maastricht, where I did Moss surgery. And after that, I did in Erasmus University, I did my PhD. And this is where Noah's kid is going. Just
Yeah.
spoiler alert here. Yeah. So first of all, it is my pleasure to be here and to talk about it, especially because my heart is half of my heart is in Amsterdam right now. My daughter is studying there. I love the Dutch people. I think this is one of the most beautiful places on earth with the most fair people I ever met. So
that's true. I
yes,
must admit.
absolutely.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about multiversism, and it's come from the word multiverse, the notion that there are many universes, and I'm not talking spiritually because I'm a very practical person, and I have came into this understanding after several events that happened to me. One of them was a road accident about exactly 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this is multiversism is a philosophy that has an hypothesis there. And the hypothesis is that there is a way to do more in life.
Mm.
And the way to do more in life, and again, this is my understanding of life based on events that happened to me, both in my lab as a scientist and in my personal life. And what I have understood from everything that happened is that the way to get more in life is to integrate random things that happen in life with personal realms like knowledge and experience and awareness. And in other words, it's a way to start accumulating real estate. I'm calling it assets.
Yes,
In,
assets.
in order to find where is the best value that you as a person can circulate back to the world?
Yeah.
Because everything that happened to us had a meaning. It wasn't just an event. And in the course, I'm talking about an event like this that happened to me when I was 11 years old with a foreign person in an elevator that
Mm.
revealed a family secret that ended up to be the way that I have operated all my professional life. My understanding, the paradigm that came out of this best elevator pitch that I ever heard in my life was ending with a way that I behaved for 40 years. And it took me 40 years to understand that what I'm doing is based on an event that happened when I was 11 years old.
Hmm.
So,
I know what is the event. We will not reveal it.
no, no.
But I can really, now that I know the event, and it is really like that. And I think that we don't understand how much things that happen to us in life has an effect on our being and our future unless we we work on trying to understand. And what you are saying is, in order to try and understand things, you have to have the knowledge and you have to have the will to to ask yourself, how is it working, and what do I do with this in order to make this life better? And you're calling it adding value.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yeah. So if an individual is using coincidences that
mm,
happened in his or her life, if he's combining it, by the way, you can only make sense of things, well, in retrospective
mm,
view. Many times we cannot understand it in real time. And this is
mm,
what we're doing in multiversism. We're trying to speed the way that we understand things, act upon them, and getting results. Because it's very easy for a person to look back and to say, wow, that was very meaningful. It happened 50 years ago. That was extremely meaningful. It happened 30 years ago.
mm.
How precious it can be if you can in a real time say whatever just happened now. And I had another event, I think that it was in your course that I spoke of that elevator meeting with the CEO of a hospital. I'm not so sure that it was in your course.
No,
That
I
in
would have
real
remembered something like that.
Yes, but in real time, I showed what can you can do, what can be done with a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it was a total coincidence. I entered the wrong elevator in the wrong flat, and it ended up to be a collaboration after that.
I
So,
I have a question about that because,
okay,
well, but
let's wait.
I'll ask about it later,
Okay,
because one of the things that was so clear for me when I took your course, and you are also encouraging this, is to make connections with other people, no matter what is the connection, because you can never know how this will affect you. But there is something that I know we spoke about a lot during the course, and that's something that I would really like you to expand on to our
sure.
audience, because I learned it from you. I mean, I heard the word before, but I never really got into the deep knowledge of it. And this is serendipity.
Sure. So let's start with defining what is serendipity.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say before anybody starting to look at movies that call serendipity or cafes and so forth. Serendipity is a result.
Mm,
Serendipity is not an event, meaning you are reaching serendipity after something happened. And I'll tell you that the word serendipity is coming most commonly to be used in science and
mm,
the word serendipity, the meaning of it is something that happened, a result on the way to do something else.
Mm.
The I think the easiest way to understand it is to think about the Bible. In the Bible, there is Saul, the king Saul,
Mm.
who was looking for the herd and ended up
A
becoming a
king.
king.
Yeah.
So this is serendipity. You went to do one thing and you ended up doing something else, getting something else. Serendipity is not an event that happened in a blink and you fell in love with someone. This is not serendipity. This is a coincidence.
Yeah.
Okay. So a coincidence, let me give a definition here of what is which and then how do we use it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an example of a story that I like to tell. There are several stories, but this is one of them.
Mm.
This is about a guy named Spencer. In 1945, he is working on radars for the USA. It is, if I believe so, it was in Raytheon Lab, which is in Massachusetts in the United States. And one of the things that when you're doing work on radars, and it was 1945, World War II,
Mm-hmm.
very important war, you have microwave waves,
Mm.
yes, that are being, it's like the outcome of building those radars is an microwave are being released.
Mm.
And he found out that I don't know what it was. I think maybe M&M or something like this, and something sweet in his pocket melted.
Mm.
Okay, so and I went and I looked at his picture, and he's a little bit chubby. So I'm sure that he has a lot of Kit Kat, whatever it is, M&Ms in his pocket. The time that something is happening, you call it coincidence.
Yeah.
The second time that the same thing is happening, several days after that, another chocolate bar in his pocket melted. He said, "That is interesting."
Mm.
Now, the third time that it's happened, a person needs to say, "This is more than interested. I need to find out what it is." Now, here is where coincidence is becoming serendipity only and only if you have awareness and knowledge.
Yeah.
Awareness, he found out that it's melting. Okay?
Yeah. You could also just not pay attention to it.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure, I have no doubt in my mind that the cleaning lady on the same floor had also melted, I don't know, cheese sandwich in her pocket and she didn't do anything.
Mm.
But not only awareness, he had the knowledge
Yeah.
because he knew that microwave uh, waves are being released. Long story short, this is how the first microwave that today it's in each and every kitchen
Yeah.
in the world. Some of us are not using it. We're still afraid of it.
Yeah.
And it's not sealed. It's yes, a
It's a
big
personal choice. Yes.
yes, it's a personal choice, exactly. So knowledge, awareness, but here come the third part. You need to
Mm.
act about it. You need to act upon it. You need to be proactive.
Yeah. Which is,
It took, yes,
this is the thing that you encouraged us to do the most,
yes,
to use our knowledge and the, let's say, chance that happened, but to then go and act on it. And like you said before, the quicker, the better.
right. This what seals the deal.
Yeah.
Only if you acted upon, only if you had the knowledge, and sometimes you don't have the entire knowledge.
Mm.
But this is the minute that you need to study. You need to increase what you know, what you don't know, what you don't know that you don't know,
Mm.
because there are many things. Because I'm sure when he started this journey, he knew zero, nothing about patents. This is one of the biggest patents ever that has been written. So it is important while you're moving to increase also your knowledge, because the knowledge brought you here to
Mm,
understand the importance of this. What additional knowledge can do, only time will say.
yeah. And that question of what is it that I know I don't know? And if you can, to go and educate yourself. And I want to ask you if you can um, give us the most practical advice or the tools that people can use to advance in life. What is there something that people can actually go and do? Like I'm talking about
Sure.
the everyday person, not that scientist, because we know that serendipity happens a lot, like you said, in science and in labs. That's where we find the most cases, I would say. I remember you were telling us about Fleming, Alexander Fleming, and it's a very
Correct.
very known story.
Right.
I
Right.
love this
Yes,
story
yes.
because both my girls were born in London in St. Mary's Hospital, where his lab is, and there's a little museum there. So that's how we found penicillin with the
Scottish,
Scottish, indeed.
even better.
And so but not everybody is a scientist. Not everybody is finding microwaves. But give us tools, ideas of how we can use serendipity in everyday life.
Sure. So the first thing is your assets, to understand your knowledge.
Mm,
And you need to even, I'm making lists, what I
mm,
know that I know, what I know that I don't know. And it's important, okay? Right now, I don't know how to edit videos, and it's very important. So I'm going to study it. There are things, the world is moving fast, very fast, and you need to adjust your knowledge. So the first thing before everything is you need to understand your knowledge levels. There are 5 knowledge levels. I will
mm.
only talk about 2 of them: what you know that you know, and what you know that you don't know.
Yeah.
What you know that you don't know, you know, don't go there and waste your time beating yourself that you don't know ballet or you don't know piano.
Mm,
What is important right now to your life, to the person that you want to be in another 2 years,
yeah.
not to anything else. So let's say you have grandkids, okay?
Mm,
And this is a new generation. If you're not going to learn something a little bit about video gaming, you are out of their conversation,
yeah.
period.
Correct.
So go and study, go and add knowledge in something that is important to you. If the communication with your grandkids is important, go and do it. If the communication with your boss that is old fashioned is important, go and find out what is an interest there.
Mm,
Some of the people is, I don't know, history. Some go and find knowledge, things that you don't know, that are going to be handy, that
yeah.
is going to be used. It's not a marathon of knowing everything. It's a marathon of knowing everything that is important to my life.
Mm. And when you're saying that, um, what comes to mind is that so many people don't know what is important for them.
Right.
And knowing that, being on a quest of who am I and what is important for me, that's the step that is one before what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes, you're correct. Um, self-inquiry is something that our generation didn't didn't emphasize ever.
Hmm.
It was, you need to go, you need to study, you need to get a good job, you need to excel in this job, and then you're going to buy a house, to have kids, and so forth.
Hmm.
Self-inquiry is something that only a person that his basic needs in life are fulfilled can do it.
Mm.
Self-inquiry is not something that someone who is hungry today can think about it.
Yeah.
Self-inquiry is not something who is looking for a shelter or God forbid he has a catastrophe in the family he's engaging in. But thank God we are privileged, and I think that most of the audience that will listen or is listening to you is privileged according to what we think in the modern Western life.
Mm-hmm.
The key for everything, the key to reach and to let's say understand your assets starts with self-inquiry.
Yeah.
So the self-inquiry is what you know that you know and what you know that you don't know.
Mm.
Another inquiry is what we're calling the Tillman question, and another
I was hoping you'll
inquiry
mention that.
is the Tillman walk or the walk. But in the Tillman question, I will not say the entire question. I hope it will come out by the end of the year, the book. Um,
Yeah, the book, of course.
yes. So let's just say one thing. We are in a fast moving universe. Nothing is the same. Think about yourself a year ago
Mm.
and what kind of events happened and you needed to move and maybe relocation, and maybe I will say a word in the end of relocation because this is something very important that
All
is,
right.
yeah, that is related to coincidence and
But
serendipity.
maybe before you tell us about the question, the Tillman question, we will explain what it is, because that's
Yes,
something super interesting. Part of
yes.
your course, your workshops, you're teaching people the Tillman question, named after you because you came up with it, and it's a tool of this of discovery and self discovery. Now, over to you. Now make the explanation because it is your tool. People need to understand it's not like any question. You really thought about it. You came up with this idea, and all your students are learning to do it. And I can tell you, it's life changing when you do that. It's life changing. So, but I will let you explain it because you
Okay,
will
so I will
explain.
start. How did it come? How it was born?
Mm,
Okay, the
sure.
genesis of the Tillman question.
Yes.
It
Come on.
was born because of my car of the motor vehicle accident that I was hurt during. I was in a car accident, ending up I wasn't able to operate for 2 years. This is
Mm.
what the rehab told me. You're not going to operate for 2 years. I was hurt in my hand and in my leg, and I had
As a
a
surgeon, because
as a
you were a
surgeon.
surgeon.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. As a surgeon, I became a patient.
Mm.
And then part of this, I was 2 months bedridden, which means I was in bed at home for 2 months.
Mm.
And for that time period, what I decided is because I'm going to be out of my work for 2 years, I asked myself, I would like to be relevant in another 2 years.
Mm.
And in order to be relevant in another 2 years, which means I didn't practice medicine, I will not practice surgery, not medicine because I ended up working, but I didn't practice surgery for two
Yeah.
years. I still want to be relevant. What I did is what I studied in the Netherlands. I was a chief of a unit that did only skin cancer
Mm.
cutting and rehabilitation. It's called Moss surgery. So I wanted to be relevant in another 2 years. And I asked myself, in the 2 months that I'm anyhow in bed,
Mm.
what am I going to do in this 2 months to still stay relevant in another 2 years? And from that came the Tillman question, where you're looking and how do we do it? Because it needs to be well created, well designed in order to get the so-called right question, is actually you're looking into the future and you're asking yourself, what am I doing now? What am I doing now
Mm.
to contribute? And I can tell you that I was shocked by my results. And then I started to teach it to my students because I was a dean of a medical school.
Yes.
And then I started to teach my friends, and then I started to teach my bosses. And then I started to spread it all over. And the strength of this question is that you are not committed to a result in another 2 years. You are committed to a direction, not a result. Not because I'm telling you from my experience, when I asked this question, I would have never guessed that I will end up staying for 20 years in Boston.
Mm.
Never, never, ever. But now
Drinking pause.
I'm going
Yes.
to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
You took the course. You
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself the Tillman question. Don't say what you decided, but I can tell, I can disclose one thing.
Come
And
on. Be
an
careful.
interesting, be careful. An interesting thing is that Noah wrote what is her Tillman question for the next 2 months during the course. And then several days after that, she spoke with me and she said, I didn't choose the right thing.
Yeah.
I needed to choose something else. And you know what were both of them.
Yes.
Now, looking backward, the thing that you chose eventually to
Mm.
focus on for 2 months,
Yeah.
looking back, going backward, your 2 years exactly after that, was it indeed the most important that could contribute to your life?
And I'll stop you there because it not only the most important, it was what I needed eventually. I can tell the first question was about the business, something I wanted to achieve in the business. And the second question was something more personal. And since the Tillman question and everything that you're doing, Tamara, and this is why I like your theory so much, is also at the background, constantly asking where can we add value to the world. It's a crucial part of what you're doing. Um, I realized that I need to deal with the personal issue in order for me to give the most value to the world. And the value that I'm giving can be in different ways. And through my business, for sure, I'm teaching other people to be meaningful to more and more people. But if I will not take care of the personal thing, that eventually that was what my question was about, I will not be able to do all the other things. I had to take care of myself first. And that is why it was so meaningful. Looking back in the year after, exactly a year after I took your course, something happened to me that I almost had to use the answers that I got when I kept asking the Tillman question. Because the Tillman question, you don't ask it once, you ask it again and again,
Every two
and
months,
you're going
exactly.
to, like what's written behind you. You're going for a walk. Yeah, you're going for the Tillman walk. There is a technique of doing it, but the essence of it, it's you're asking yourself, um, what do I need to do? Because like you're saying, and I totally believe in it, we are only responsible for the way. We cannot be responsible for results. Results, they are not always only depending on us. Things happen in the world, things happen, but what we can only be responsible for what we are doing.
Yeah,
And that's why it was so meaningful that the Tillman question for me, and the question that you helped me to um, uh, identify
formulate.
in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And it comes from science because scientists are very skilled in understanding processes.
Mm.
This is what they're doing. So I, I, I brought my experience from the lab in analyzing what I did. I was able to do the analysis only because I got tools from science.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm a very theoretical way of thinking. This is a multiversism, is being pulled down to earth because it's all about practical tools. Not
Mm.
only that you ask this question, but there are several activities you're doing on a daily walk that you're performing. This is the Tillman walk or the walk. And there is actually a recipe here.
Come on,
It's
let's talk about it.
it's a recipe. Um, I'm bringing also my background. Surgeons have recipes.
Mm.
It's called rituals. There are rituals that we're doing anywhere. There is for example, scrubbing. There is a
Yeah.
way to scrub. Okay, you
Mm.
start from the tip of your finger, you go upward. There is a way to scrub.
Which is
Ritual,
being taught in medical school. There is,
yes,
yeah.
yes, being taught in medical schools.
Mm.
Rituals are protocols,
Yeah.
protocols that we are keeping. Every person has at least one ritual. Everybody's brushing their teeth. Okay, it's a
Hopefully,
ritual.
yes.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Depends if
When
if
it's
you're
your
a
yeah,
dentist.
with your teenagers, you're not always sure they do it, but yeah,
Yeah.
ideally, yes.
When
But
you're
but
like
many of
again,
us has other rituals.
yeah, of course, but everybody has rituals. The
Yeah.
time that you go to sleep, the sleep hygiene that you have, like you're setting the light off, you're turning the light off, it's a cool room, you open the window. There, everybody has rituals about something.
Hmm.
And we're doing it no matter what, no matter what. Even if we're taking a flight and there are 10 hours and there is a sleep, we will go to brush our teeth. So there are rituals in life. Surgeons and pilots are very similar. They
Hmm.
have rituals. Those rituals can save lives.
Yeah.
And they are saving lives both in aviation and in medicine.
Yeah.
Ritual means that you practice something so many times and it is good and the outcome is good that you keep it.
Hmm.
The Tillman walk is a ritual, understanding that every day you want to be more.
Hmm.
And to be more, you need to practice something, whether it's knowledge, whether it's awareness, whether those are actions. All of them are structured in a walk.
Hmm.
Usually we're doing this walk in nature. I know that you used to go in the
Yes.
forest, and I'm usually walking,
On the
I'm trying
beach.
to walk on a beach,
I
exactly.
wish I could, but I really remember that the time I took the course and it was so rainy and so terrible. But yeah, I for me ideally would be on the beach as well. Love
And
the
it, and
beach.
it and it comes from a ritual that I had.
Mm.
This walk is a ritual that I had as someone who practiced medicine. And when I was until I was a chief of a of a unit for skin cancer, I used to walk every morning on the beach
Mm.
to review the patient that I have and to understand what needs to be done. And on the way back, what can go wrong? And if
Mm.
it goes wrong, what am I doing? It's a ritual that was embedded in my practice.
Mm.
This is what I'm giving today. The tools that I used as a surgeon all my life, the tools that I'm using today, the tool that I'm using whenever there is a problem, whenever there is a problem, the tiniest problem that I have and I don't find a solution, I'm going out on the Tillman walk. I know that by walking, I have a friend who has a stable and she said, the horses, in order to think, needs to move. So
Mm.
sometimes I as a stubborn
Yeah.
person needs also to move.
Yeah.
So, and I'm getting the results. If you have a structural way of thinking, structural way of implementing things, rituals,
Yeah.
you end up getting more. And this is the aim in life. The aim in life, in my opinion, this is what I thought when I was in bed for two
Mm.
months and I knew that I will not be able to work and to operate. I needed to have more of just being a person that is doing nothing for the next 2 years.
But you know what's amazing about what you're saying? if I may reflect.
Of course.
A lot of people will hear bed rest and they will do bed rest. And you did bed rest, but your brain, your mental being didn't stop. And for me, that is such an inspiration because you did, yes, you maybe had to rest because of the accident to heal the body, but in order to stay relevant and in order not to lose yourself in the story, you found a way. You asked yourself, what will be the way that will allow me to be relevant in 2 years' time, even though I'm not going to be able to do what I love doing for 2 years? And how many people will get depressed at that point and will say, oh, I can't do anything, maybe take a long sick leave, but you didn't. You didn't. And maybe we can go back to serendipity because the accident was that occasion, that thing that just happened to you. You didn't ask that it will happen,
God
right?
forbid.
That was the coincidence that unfortunately happened to you. Um, and and then we are talking about serendipity, right? I'm taking us back for the earlier part of the conversation. So is there a way to reach from one to another, from coincidence, whatever happened,
Yes.
to serendipity?
Yes, there is a recipe to serendipity. This is what I'm teaching, a recipe to serendipity. But I need to tell you, when I was bedridden, when I
Mm.
was in bed, resting was the first thing that I thought to myself, okay, I'm an exhausted surgeon. I'm working day in, day out, 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 p.m. I was exhausted for sure.
Yeah.
The first thing you think about rest, but then comes the physiology. And I need to tell you that surgeons have other physiology. Why? Because they are being exposed to adrenaline, to epinephrine, and norepinephrine, and cortisol. They are in stress levels all the time,
Mm.
adrenaline all the time. So if you put someone in rest that has a nice amount of adrenaline in his bloodstream, they're going to be sick because this is not their physiology anymore.
Mm.
And then I was thinking, I knew that I wasn't able to get out of bed, and I had vertigo. I had other things in addition. I had brain concussion. But what I knew then and there was that whatever I was thinking in the past about what I want to have, what we have on our New Year's resolution, and it stays there already for 10 years and we didn't do anything,
Mm.
this wasn't relevant in this moment because in this moment, I lost something. I am
Mm.
less than what I am usual. I am less than what is my daily activity. I'm less of what is my income. I'm less of everything, everything. So in order to reach, to be relevant, to reach more, it wasn't only to reach more from your baseline, it was first going from where you are in the bottom of the bottom and trying to gap this from the bottom of the bottom to the regular you, and then to get a little bit more. So this was a
Oh.
motivation, and I'm sure, I have no doubt in my heart that there are people right now who are successful, who are active, who are earning money, who are not sitting in bed or in front of the television, who are working and doing, and they are less than what they want to be. I have no
Mm.
doubt. You're going to sleep, they're passing the mirror and they said, not another, I don't want to say the word, day was wasted, regular day.
Yeah.
And understanding that you have the choice to do more, even if you're in an
Oh,
adversity,
yes.
even if you're in a bad condition. And only God knows that you and I had our share of bad conditions in life.
Yes.
everybody had their bad conditions in life and they came out of it. So you have the choice to do more
And
and to do more.
carry on, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And to do more, now I'm coming to your question of coincidence and serendipity. And to do more is first of all to be more,
Hmm.
to understand more, to have a knowledge of more things, of more fields, of going back and thinking I was a basketball, I was a player in the basketball in high school in the team, that represented my town and then my country. So in any case, what is the asset that is in that hobby that you had in the past? You're drawing today. What is the asset there? Try to verbalize it and try to understand that everything that you're doing is an asset
Yeah.
and acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, so I'm drawing. So what? I just hang on my daughter's walls yesterday, um, paintings that I did in China. What is it? What kind of value is there that if you will accumulate all of those values,
Hmm.
this is what will end up with the added value, your singular added value to the world. This is the important thing, to understand that it's your choice to see coincidences, to say yes to events, to work on those events, to add knowledge, to add awareness, and in the end, in the bottom line, to be active. You didn't do your share, don't complain.
Um, yeah. And to understand that, and I think this is where a lot of people fall, to understand that things you've done in life has a meaning, even if you think it's something small. Like you're saying, like if somebody, um, yeah, was painting, okay, as a child. It's a good example for me because I used to paint. I don't paint anymore, but the painting taught me so much more than just the result of the oil paint that I had on my wall, right? It's nice to see it in my parents' house, but the painting taught me so much more. I was very privileged. We lived in Paris, and my teacher was a very known artist. I learned how he talked, how he was, how he was patient with us, the students, but also with the materials. He respected what he was doing. And I know now that I learned so much from his being in when I'm teaching. Res-
You're using it
Absolutely,
today in your school. Yes.
absolutely. I'm not painting, but I'm using the patience, the looking at things, correcting things if I don't feel that this is the result that I wanted. Learning that we talked about the journey. Um, that like oil painting has layers. You need to respect the layers. You cannot come to the top layer, the little details, if you've not put a base layer and then more and more and more. You have to plan it. These are things that I've learned when I was 16.
Okay, now time out for a
Yeah,
second. Time out for a second. Now, let's say you have a new school, a new institute, and you want to do marketing to this institute. If you're bringing those values that you just spoke about,
yeah.
those things that you learn from art, why am I teaching the ICCI the artistic way? This is becoming what we are calling an inelastic demand,
Oh,
because you are talking to two different populations and you're becoming attractive to two different populations. One is the artist, the other is the coaches, because you're teaching coaching,
hmm.
you're teaching coaching in your institute. Now, if you're merging those together. This is what we're doing in multiversism. We are merging worlds, right? This is the
Correct.
world of art, of your being a kid. This is the world of teaching that you have right today. That, by the way, you brought it also from teaching in London. So once you're merging it, but
Mm.
first of all, you need to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
First of all, you need to say, I'm not so sure that if I didn't say, if I haven't said a word about the painting, you would have brought the painting. This is a
Mm.
coincidence. This is a synchronicity.
Definitely.
At the same time, now let's say that you have a business, because what I'm teaching is not only for people, it's also for organizations, and I also give consultations to universities.
Correct.
If you're merging those two things, how how much more value you're bringing,
Mm.
because you are just you're teaching you something that is known. How do you do oil painting? It's known, but
Mm.
you're saying you need to respect the material. You need to align it. You need to organize it. You're doing it layer after layer. You don't know what is going to be the end result. So if you're bringing just your tiny example, if you're merging those two worlds, two universes that are not related,
Mm.
if you're
But
merging them, this is where the magic starts. This
uh,
is where the big magic starts.
absolutely. And this is where you also start see the connections. Okay, you mentioned painting. I never thought about it. This my teacher Alec Borstein. It was amazing, but in my world, which is the coaching world, I respect process more than anything else. And people who do not understand that things are always, they have their process quicker, slower, it doesn't matter, but we need to allow the process to happen. It then they're missing on something. And
Right.
and again, I never thought about it, and it's something that you bring now, and this is why I love talking to you so much, because every time we're talking, there's a new kind of revelation of something that it's something I learned as a teenager from something completely different, which is painting, which I'm not doing today. But there were
Mhm.
lessons there, and this is, I think, if I understand correctly, the the knowledge that you're talking about, that you have to have the knowledge, but you also have to be looking at that knowledge. You need to discover what is it that you've done and not think, oh, that's something I've done so many years ago, it means nothing to me. It does. It's part of
Absolutely.
your baggage, of your rucksack, or for whatever, what you're walking in this world. And do not dismiss those things.
One of the things that I really love to work with is memories, childhood memories.
Mm.
And there is a new workshop that, because I just came back from Byron Katie, I've been 5 days
Mm.
in her place in Ojai in California. And when I
Wow.
came back, and yes, and I when I came back, I was in the middle of one of my courses. When I was there, I broadcast one of my courses, and I told them that I went to California to Byron Katie, and they said, "Why won't you give us one more class about her?" And I said, "Okay, let's do a special workshop." And this is a new workshop that I'm doing. It's called Revisiting Memories.
Mm.
And I'm going there and I'm putting three mirrors in front of your memories. You're choosing any memory and I'm putting three mirrors. One mirror is of Alfred Adler, who was the founder of individual psychology. And he said that the person is being motivated because he's inferior. Okay. One mirror.
Mm.
So we analyze the same memory, one with a mirror of Alfred Adler,
Mm.
the other one with a mirror of um, Byron Katie.
Mm.
Because any memory that you have, you still have a complaint there. I'm sure that maybe I can just say, but it
Mm.
doesn't matter if it's true or not. Like a complaint, we needed to leave Paris, and I stopped those classes. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's always a complaint with that memory until
Mm.
today.
And
And then
it's a true complaint, by the way. This is the reason I stopped painting.
exactly, exactly.
I
This
took
is
my kit back home, but I never did anything with it.
no.
Never.
And so this is exactly as the same way that my kit from China is still here in one of the closets. So and she's asking her first question, is it true, right?
Yeah.
And then the
If
third
if people
mirror,
don't know, we're talking about Byron Katie and the work. Yeah.
right? And she has four questions. Is it true? Are you absolutely sure that it's true? What do you feel when you think? And who would you be without it?
Yeah.
So I did those two mirrors, and then I did it with the mirror of multiversism.
Mm.
Okay. What kind of knowledge is there in this memory? Now, analyzing the memories for me is a key to understand, but only after you defined who you are today, what you want to do, and so forth. This has this is some hidden gems that if you don't go to memories, and one of the classes, one of the gates of multiversism is always childhood memories.
Mm.
You need to go back there, not in order to, and we never do any atrocities or trauma or abuses.
Yeah, of course. No.
I went painting and my parents needed to go back home.
Yeah.
So uh, I'm using it because there is a knowledge there, and we need to tap into this knowledge. And this is part of self-inquiry. We
Yeah.
started with self-inquiry. We are ending with self-inquiry. This is all the knowledge that you need to start accumulating, what you already have,
Mm.
not anything new, and then start to add something new because you need to expand above and beyond it.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Tamara, I just love it. And you wrapped it up so well. Oh, what
Thank
can I say? I can talk to you for hours.
you.
You're
Do.
such, we do. Um, really I feel like I want to invite you again because there's such a lot in what you're saying. The power of what you're saying. When people do what you're saying, this is powerful stuff. This changes life. This connects you to who you really are. Just first of all, by those questions, getting the answers, starting to do things, connecting the different worlds, the multiverse that you are teaching. But there is another thing that I know I wanted to talk about, which you do encourage on the course, and I want um to talk about it just before we are really wrapping up with our game of 2+1. You encouraged us to really get to know the other people on the course. Remember, you put us
Yes.
in small
Yes.
groups. We had to meet out, in between the lessons. We had to chat. We had homework to do together. But more than that, you are encouraging people to tap into other people's worlds and see where you can make connections.
Right.
I think beyond anything else, um, this is this is one of the things that help us to expand in life. The connections with other people, to be with other people, to uh, tap into their world, to understand where they're coming from, and to make those connections of those different worlds. Because each one of us has a limitation of what we bring, but us plus another person, when we find that connection between us, that's where beauty really happens.
I agree. I will add to this that in order that this connection will work,
Mm,
you need to have the same language.
mm,
And the language is not English necessarily. The language means here it's I'm calling multiversism, they're talking, there are talking the same language. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida right now. I'm in a place called Hollandale Beach, and I was walking the beach yesterday. While I'm walking the beach, I'm getting a text from two um, two of my students. They were not in the same course. They went to dinner. They started to talk. By a chance, they found out that they're in the same course. Next day, both of them wants to write a book. They are sitting and writing a book, and they're asking me
Mm,
a question. So I'm immediately calling them, and I'm telling them, we spoke, they told me each one of them what is the book about. And I think one of them, it was her Tillman question
mm,
during the course. The other one came to this much later. And they spoke with me about their book. And while we were talking, I spoke
mm,
with them about the added value. And I said, I don't care about what the book will be about. The only thing that I care is that someone who's picking up that book is becoming better after he read it. And you need to understand this point. I need to know what is your better. Now, if people are connecting and they are connecting with the same language, by the way, the same language can be they're both coaches. The same language can
mm.
be they live in the same place. The same language can be they're coming from the same culture back home. I don't know where from, Sweden. Not, doesn't matter what it is.
Mm.
People needs to, in order to have a connection, you need to have a base
Yeah.
and you can build on that base. A connection is only based on a base.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a superficial one, and superficial connections, we know it from chemistry, are never lasting. They are not very
Mm,
stable. So, yes, the connection is important. It's important when you speak the same language.
mm.
And especially for people who are coming and who are curious about knowledge. Both of them are curious about knowledge and how their knowledge can influence other people. And
Yeah.
that's good.
Wow. Because I'm thinking, like, for example, about my students, they come from all over the world. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they all speak English to a certain level. That's one language. But the language that really connects them is their values, what they
Good.
believe in. You know, they believe in people. They believe in people that they can get better. They have so many values that are shared. That's their language. That's what they come with. This is why right from the start, it's easy for me to help them to build trust with each other and connect with each other. They really feel like friends after the first training day because I realized that this is what is that language you're talking about.
Yeah. I would say that coaching in general, and I'm sure that you found it in your institute, coaches must show one thing, and this is empathy.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would say if there is anything that can connect immediately people that are coaches is empathy. And if you're a coach motivated by finance and not motivated by empathy,
Mm,
this is something that there are coaches like this. They can only talk, they can also talk. But
mm.
if you're a coach that is motivated by empathy, you will build immediately a connection with other coaches. And I'm sure that this is the case in your school.
Oh, thank you. Which brings me to the 2+1, because one
Okay.
of the questions that I know I want to ask you. So let explain to the audience, whoever is listening to us for the first time. At the end of the episode, I'm asking our guest two surprising questions, and our guest, so Tamara, this time is going to ask me a surprising question.
Oh, I didn't
That
prepare
that
for this.
that we've
Okay.
nothing we have not that we've rehearsed the other questions, but this is something that's really not rehearsed.
Okay.
You studied coaching at one point in your life.
Right. Right.
And I have so many questions regard to that, but maybe what I would like to ask you the most is how is learning coaching, if at all, is connected to multiverse and serendipity?
Okay. So
And why have you
it's
studied
a very
coaching?
interesting, it's a very interesting story. I studied coaching after I met someone in Boston, someone who came for doing a PhD. She gave a lesson, and I was mesmerized by her.
Mm.
Then I started to learn everything about her, and I ended up understanding that she is a coach teaching Adler coaching.
Ah,
Okay.
yes.
So the first thing I went to, this is a coincidence. Look at the coincidence, okay?
Oh,
The
we
first
love coincidence.
Yes, the first thing that I did, the next week, I was a dean of a medical school in Boston.
Yeah.
I registered to a coaching program in Toronto, and I went for a
Mm.
week to Toronto. I went there for a week, and it's 3 weeks. You need to come in three different weeks.
Yeah.
After the first week, I came out of there and I said, "This is not my league.
Mm.
She's my league." She taught in Romania. So
Wow.
I went from the United States twice to Romania to finish this education.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't
So
know that.
yeah. Now here is the coincidence. So I'm going to Toronto, and there is opening day, and there is a round there, and everybody is asking, what are you doing? Where are you from? What are you doing? And I said, I didn't want to say that I'm a surgeon, that I'm after, I didn't want to say the entire thing. So
Mm.
I said, I'm writing a book. Never in my life before did I think that I'm writing a book. And they said, what is it about? And I said, this is about my life experience. How does it call? And I said, multiversism.
Wow.
And I was so intrigued. Then I came back to Boston and I took 8 of my friends and I said, guys, I cannot lie that much. So, first, I am doing now a course of multiversism to you,
Yeah.
free of charge, just to my 8 friends. And in the end, they said, keep on doing it and really write it. So, only because I didn't want to say who am I and what I'm doing and so forth, and I just invented that I'm writing a book, I ended
Mm.
up, I have already published 3 books, and it's chapters in books, and I hope my fourth one will come soon. So
Ah.
this is the story of the coaching. How am I using coaching? It's a structure, it's a process.
Mm.
If you understand the process, if you understand that the process is going from point A to point B, this is coaching is going from point A to point B. All of us are doing it in teaching,
Yes.
going from point A to point B. So this is what I took from coaching.
Wow. And you are an inspiring teacher. You're such a good teacher.
Thank you.
Really.
God bless you.
Yeah. Um, so the second question, I don't know if you'll be able to answer it because maybe it's even impossible, but I will ask it anyway. We're talking about coincidences are coincidences. We have no control over it. Serendipity, we have more control over it.
Yes.
Um, is there an area in your life that you would like to have a coincidence that will then follow serendipity? Is there like something there that you would think
So,
that would be lovely?
so you're asking a wider question, okay?
Yeah.
And I will answer to it, yes. Can you invite coincidence?
Wow.
Yes. Yes, you can. Why? Please excuse me that I'm changing a little bit the question.
No problem.
Because, because if you raise your awareness,
Mm,
you can see things that you didn't see before. And
of
this is the
course.
invitation. This is the invitation. I'm not a very spiritual person. I'm very down to earth
Mm,
girl. There is always in my course, in all of my workshops, in all my presentations, I'm giving also lectures. The first picture is me walking on the seashore, where I'm saying, whatever I'm going to say today, let me tell you, both of my feet are really grounded.
yeah.
So I'm not talking about the spiritual thing that I'm saying, okay, I will have this, I will have that. but you can invite coincidence. You
Wow.
can invite it by, and as a scientist, I'm saying, not as anything else, you're inviting something that you don't know that you don't know.
Hmm. I think we'll have to have another episode just about that. Wow, because that's mind blowing. That we're going to switch off the recording, and I'm going to ask you about that because that
Sure.
is mind blowing. Yes, like you're saying, we hear so many people talking about it through the spirit, like spirituality. But if you're saying that it's not the spirituality that can bring it, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Let's hear what you are going to ask me.
I'm going to ask you a reverse Tillman question.
Come on.
Okay. What would Noah tell her 20 years old Noah
Hmm.
do one thing that will influence her life in another 30 or 40 years?
Wow. Um, I would tell 20-year-old Noah that everything she's going through, all the difficulties, are going to be her assets later in life. And decisions that she took, not always alone, by the way. Sometimes I had to ask for help. Um, are or let me put it that way. I can tell it. Should I tell the story why I'm saying it?
Yeah, why not?
I was in a very good position in an organization, and as a punishment, they sent me far away to do something that wasn't interesting, literally a punishment. I will not get to who decided to punish me and what. Um, but yeah, somebody thought I didn't do a good enough job. It was partly true. I hated that job. So she punished me, moved me far, far away to a different place in the country where I had to do another work and live there, etc. That work was, remember, I was in education already, to be responsible for the technical part of a huge school, okay? A huge school of thousands of students, but to do the technical part, inviting lecturers, making sure people are booking rooms, that the finance is correct, going and interviewing people. Are they good to be lecturers in the school or not? Really technical things. Managing a budget, managing what comes first, what comes out, from meals to equipment to things like that. I'm telling you,
Administrative work.
administrative
Administrative.
work in
Yeah.
education, but in a school that like a university, like a college. Okay.
Yeah.
And I took the job. I took it for a year, the best year in my life. First of all, I said to myself, if I'm here, I'm going to enjoy it.
Lovely.
And I said to myself, I'm going to learn and do everything here the best I can. Because I needed it. I needed to prove her wrong, but I needed to enjoy it. And listen, I met the most amazing people on this job. I interviewed people who, like professors in universities, singers, actors. My job was to interview them and decide, are they coming to give lectures here or not? Me, okay, 20-year-old, managing a budget, managing timetable for all. I think we had over 200 rooms in that place, like lecturing rooms, classrooms, everything like that. And I loved it. And I learned to run a school.
So it is beautiful because you took something that seems to be a bad idea and you turned it into a skill. This
Absolutely.
is this is knowledge. You
Yes.
ended up after a year with a skill that you never had before, and you are still using this knowledge, including who are you inviting to your podcast. So this is a
Yeah.
beauty. This is a beauty.
Yeah. Listen, that year taught me how to run a school. This is when I decided to open the ICCI. I knew I can do it. I had
So
no doubt. I did it. It wasn't even a question. It was a feeling inside me that it's a knowledge that I knew I know how to do it. I needed to learn how to do it in the Netherlands, how to do it, with different people, different place. But booking a room, piece of cake. Managing a budget, piece of cake, piece of cake. Really is. I knew it. And I'll tell you something. Before I had this job, there was a vacancy there for at least 4 months, maybe more. Nobody wanted it. When I stopped, because I only had a contract for 1 year, and then I stopped, I went to study. When I finished, there was a list of people who wanted it, and we had to interview them
wow.
because they saw in the place in the
Because you
school,
increased the activity, you made out of it something else.
and I loved it. I
Yeah.
decided that I'm going to love it. It was in a place in a country that was so beautiful, overlooking mountains. I just decided that every morning I'm looking at the surroundings and I'm enjoying it. I had to live there. Yeah. I had to live in that
Yeah.
area. Yeah, just, and that taught me that I am responsible for my
With your
life.
choice. Yes.
Yeah. But you see, it's, this is serendipity, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That
It is.
I never thought about it.
Taking a coincidence um, that wasn't on your way. You didn't ask for this coincidence,
True.
and turning it by work to something very valuable. This is serendipity. Taking, as we said at the beginning, taking Spencer's work, coincidence, a melting chocolate bar, and turning it with knowledge, with work, into a microwave that is today in every kitchen. This is the process of taking coincidence and turning it into serendipity. And
Bingo.
chapeau.
Bingo. Although I have my doubts about his story because chocolate melts in somebody's pocket. Come on. But I'm sure there
Yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the story.
yeah.
We
I
cannot
think
get him out of his grave, but this is the historic story, and we
yeah, I'm
don't
sure,
we don't mess with myth.
no, and I'm sure there was so much more than that. It's, to invent a microwave, but the waves were there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
He,
a known out result of
yeah,
working on those radars. It was a known result.
but he did something with it, and that's where the difference is.
Yeah, he did it with Raytheon, and as I said, it's a huge success.
Of
Huge
course.
success that is helping people.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
This is the important thing.
yeah. Wow, Tamara, I can't believe we're going to say goodbye, but we
Oh,
have to.
yes.
Um, how can people find you?
They can Google me on LinkedIn. They can Google my name, LinkedIn, my website. I'm giving courses, I'm giving lectures,
And we're going
and
to put everything in the description of
yes, yes,
the
we will.
episode and wherever we are advertising it. LinkedIn is a great place, actually. I
Yes,
like LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is right now. It's the place. I have there also a link from there to what I'm doing. We have a multiversism. We have the school. My school is called Bio Innovation Academy, but it's the name. Go by the name.
Yes. The-
Cherchez la femme.
yeah, Dr. Tamara Tilleman, my absolute pleasure. I really don't want this conversation to stop, but we have to because it's just an episode in a podcast. But we'll talk again.
The pleasure was mine, and thank you for the opportunity.